Uh, Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much, Saloni and Vasant. That was a really insightful session. Uh, I will be taking you through the next session, which we have with Ujjwal. I think before that, I would just like to highlight, that one of the positive outcomes, if you can say, over the last year and a half through this pandemic has been that the impetus that digitization and use of technology in our everyday lives has got. I mean, we've all had to evolve and adapt to this changing business dynamic and integrate technology in our everyday lives, which has transformed the way we work, shop, study, just about everything. And we all know that embracing change is the only way forward, but it is never easy. And most of us are really never, unless we're forced to do it, we don't really, happily make changes. And if you had told us a couple of years ago that our children will be, attending school online, our offices would have moved to home, or even in a workshop like this or conferences would be happening via this medium, it would have been very hard to imagine. But today it's a reality. And when we have accepted technology in so many aspects, it only makes sense that we look at how tech can transform the way we look at wealth management. We've already had a really good insight from Vasant. And now to take this forward, it's my great pleasure to introduce Ujjwal Jain. Ujjwal is the founder and CEO of Wealth Desk. He has more than a decade of experience working at the confluence of computer science, technology, finance, trading, and investment management industries. Before venturing out in 2016, Ujjwal worked with leading technology-driven hedge fund on Wall Street, DE Shaw, and was leading index and ETF provider MSCI. Having built a strong institutional and in-depth understanding of both active and passive fund management industry, completely driven by deep technology and product-based approach, Ujjwal has been keen to venture out in India in this space. During this research phase about India, Ujjwal met several brokers, asset managers in Mumbai to understand the challenges and that of the sector at large. That's when he clearly saw how technology could transform investment and wealth management on broking and envisioned building the investment technology platform. This led to the roadmap to build the Wealth Desk platform ecosystem after he finally quit his job in March 2016 and incorporated the startup. Ujjwal's expertise in this area, along with his zeal and energy, reflects in the commitment and vision of Wealth Desk. Ujjwal is an engineer and also a CFA charter holder. With that, Ujjwal, I hand it over to you.
Hey, thanks, Shagun, for the introduction. Yeah, pleasure to connect with everyone. I mean, we have already had 1 hour of platform related discussions, and I'm really happy that we are talking about such an emerging topic in such a coveted event. And I'm really happy to be one of those guys who actually can talk about it. Now, this is one of those areas where it's not something which, as an entrepreneur, I have been embracing as a building this ecosystem out of India. It is something which is part of my life since my right after my engineering in computer science. I mean, the whole approach of platform is something which is global in nature in terms of how some of the most sophisticated funds have been managed globally, whether you talk about DE Shaw or anybody, or whether you talk about all these leading index providers, how they build their internal stack to drive such trillions of dollars of assets. It cannot happen in a very traditional way. If we look at it like from a fund management point of view, it has to have happened at a scalable form. And platform actually in an essence is one of the key tenets of building modern day fund management or a wealth management or investment management business. So in the larger context, so before I ventured out, so I have as you, I mean, let me just share my screen also. Yeah, before I ventured out, actually, as you pointed out, Shagun, so been working at the Conference of Computer Science and Markets, and I can be 100% sure that a lot of folks out here in the participant group, now obviously they would want to know about what Welders does, and essentially because it's an extended workshop, I can tell all what we have been discussed. Welders does all of that, and we'll be talking much beyond that also. But I know for the fact a lot of people want to embrace this change also. So I want to bring that empathy in this workshop, where I can try to find ways where, as a practitioners of the industry, because being a CFA charter holder, I know how to be part of this emerging industry, and it is very important to see how we transform our careers and way we look at our spaces where we are in our careers to embrace platform, and Welders is trying to be one of those pioneers actually. So culturally, my background has been like working at the Conference of Markets and Computer Science, and interestingly, platform as a service, which you're talking about, I before I ventured out, actually I was working with D Shaw back right after my engineering, and they were working on building a treasury platform in house, which was around managing the entire funds of the hedge, like all the hedge funds, that all the funds, publicly managed funds, where we used to trade through counterparties globally, right from, like, you name, from Deutsche to Barclays to Morgan. They used to trade through these counterparties or prime brokers, and treasury was their core platform to ensure that the capital cost is actually minimized when you do trading on margin. Now, as a hedge fund, highly leveraged strategies, alpha actually is not only created by the fund strategy, but also how you deploy your capital. So D Shaw actually, within the like hedge fund setup itself, was working like a technology company, and the treasury platform, which was sitting at the epicenter of front office, middle office, back office, was driving lot of these counterparty management or prime brokerage led treasury management, and I was instrumental in building that post crisis 2009. And when we were building that as a platform for internal hedge fund function, we never knew that this same platform could be given to every other hedge fund in the world. And that what happened, I think around 13-14. So I started in 2009, and then 13-14, actually this entire platform was spawned off out of D Shaw. Blackstone took a stake in that, and then a company was formed called RCCM. Now that treasury platform as a service is being used by most leading hedge funds and asset management firms globally. So platform as a service is something which I have been part of a global transformation also before I ventured out in India. So it is something which is very, very close to me. and and interestingly, I came to Bombay for a JV which we did with Reliance Industries, and that's when I got exposed to Indian markets, and I realized the enormous opportunity out there to drive the space as a through platforms. And this is how the vision for Welders came in. Now, in between my entrepreneurship and D Shaw, I also worked with MSCI, and interestingly, again, their focus was to take a platform-based approach to create index. Now, indexing is something which is fundamental to drive any ETF-based product. So MSCI being the leader, they wanted to become more fintech focused company and not like a data driven company. So the entire culture was being rebuilt to become a more like a platform where you can build, drag and drop, build indices at scale, whether it is a smart beta, whether it's an ESG index, or whether it is a multi-factor index converging bunch of factors. Idea was to take a platform approach to building that. And again, interestingly, I coming from that pedigree of D Shaw and bringing working at the Conference of Markets and Computer Science, I could drive a lot of this change while I was in MSCI. Now, this all was culminating into this very much the very fact that time has come that I go out and actually do something out of India. Now, one of the important things as an entrepreneur people look at is that, can I build for the shorter term growth story, or should I build for a longer term growth story? Now it is also a function of how you deploy capital as an entrepreneur. Now, if you take a money from a VC at the start and you define a core objective, you need to work around that. Now, especially in our space, which has a lot of overhangs, whether it is regulatory, whether how the industry is evolving, and whether you can transform, bring any changes in the industry in a year or two. Now, it's and interestingly, in our space, if these are some of the very important factors if you want to build a company for the future. So we were clear that when we started that we need to build this company from with our vision, with a 10-year vision. Like we cannot have built a company just grow from like in a year or so start growing and get into the market and involve stakeholders in our product. So we took a very decadal approach that we'll have a 10-year vision. So the first 3-4 years we bootstrapped and we built this company, and this was back in 2016. We formally launched our first product in 2018, and then from that point today we are like pioneering this Welders as a platform to a larger ecosystem. Now I'll talk about Welldesk in the later part of the workshop. So this is the overall view of how we have evolved as a company. Now, I understand that because we have a workshop before also, but there are some of the things that I want to bring out when we talk about platforms, or when we talk about platform as a service, or a lot of this word around aggregator, platform, or platformization. I mean, interestingly, I did a platformization workshop, career webinar in like a couple of years back from CFA Institute only, and till date I get a lot of these feedbacks around, like, it was very good to actually look at how platforms can be an augmentation to my growth as a practitioner versus looking it as a disruption. So keeping that as an intent, I just wanted to bring in some aspects about what exactly essentially a platform means. Now, some of the most tracked parameters globally when somebody looks to build a business out of a country is that what is the ease of doing business, what is that metric is very important. Now, when you say ease of doing business, there are thousands of documentation that gets involved when you start a company. Now, if I want to, let's say, start a pharma API company out of India, because we have a great incubation ground and I'm a global manufacturer of pharma, if I come down to India and I have to set up the company, I need to go through a 3-4 months of documentation processes and bunch of things before I could start a company. My core motive is the building of API, or the API as a pharma manufacturer. But I end up doing a lot of other periphery things in order to actually start focusing on my moat. Now, what platform does is essentially is that it aggregates a lot of this periphery or the heavy lifting in specific areas of businesses, let's say, depending on which platform serving which space, and ensure that your core strength you can focus on and deploy this platform for your periphery use cases and scale very fast. And that is what is the essence of modern day businesses. If you look at any business right today, if you are not looking at business from an approach of technology, from an approach of platform, you might miss the biggest dimensions that a product could that sector could give in the long run. So I mean, I know a lot of equity researchers would be also out there. So nobody could have imagined that in 2016-17 that Jio will take a platform approach versus a telecom provider. Like, when I say platform, it would mean vertically, horizontally, getting right people, right from apps to underlying chips of the mobile phone, to to cloud computing providers like Microsoft, getting all those into that stack. The idea is take a platform approach, because you want to control a large value chain in the vertical and horizontal section, and continue to focus on your core strength. Well, in case of a Jio, it could be a telecom service. So to modern day, look at every business from a platform point of view. It is not just Welldesk, which is the platform in our space, but there are a bunch of platforms in every other areas. And essentially the core concept is that it does the heavy lifting to ensure, create a more enabling environment so that collective strengths could create better opportunity for both the supplier who's creating the value in this platform, and the demand creator who's actually consuming this value. So ease of doing business is a great way to look at that. If a government can provide a plug and play platform kind of environment where you can set up a business in a country, I think that is the essence of, like, if that is the ethos, if you look at what Welldesk also as a platform does, or any other platform provider would do. Now, especially coming to our space where we are more digital first, technology first sector, area of focus is very technology driven and very digital in nature. What exactly platformization means in technology driven world? Now as I started with that idea that you focus on your core strength. So let's say you have a proof of concept that I can be great at something, and with that as a proof of concept, you realize that there is a platform which does all the heavy lifting to ensure that your proof of concept can go to the market in the shortest time possible, and also provide you a large distribution network so that you can grab critical mass. And when you grab critical mass, if you pump in your resources further on your proof of concept, you can scale very rapidly, while platform enabling that scale very efficiently for you. And this way you can innovate faster. And when you innovate faster, you get better user feedbacks, and this loop is a continuous process. And platformization is fundamental to this proof of concept to user and then coming back. And that is why you see so many enormous amount of experiments are happening in the world right now in every sector, every spheres of our life. And platformization is the what I would call as the Web 3.0, or the future of new age business models. And so with that as an essence, you understand that the power of platform is cross-cutting every sector and industry in India. Now, for example, like AWS cloud computing. Now, AWS as a cloud computing service provider has ensured that company like ours can scale to millions of customers through a infrastructure or as a service where I can build my technology, deploy it, and scale it at a very rapid pace. Now, in some time next week onwards, we're going to go live pan India with one of the biggest fintech startups in the country to get Wealth Baskets or the Welders platform to a larger retail community. Now, how are we doing this? Because AWS is helping us scale at a rapid pace, and in this case, you could say that okay, while building Welders, we were looking at how do we manage such a massive infrastructure on the computing resources side. No, we have AWS as a platform. So AWS is a platform which I am also using. So there is an inception point also here, that as a platform, I am using also a bunch of other platforms. For payments, we are using the UPI platform, like which has abstracted payments to a level where you can, every one of us can do payments like there's no other day, and it's so simple and easy. And because also we are in a regulated space, so we use the Aadhaar India stack also as a platform to enable RegTech compliance for our investment advisors. So we see the platform is not a is actually essentially, platforms have 2 3 critical components. One is that they create a core, they create the heavy lifting in specific areas, does every heavy lifting around in a specific area, so that somebody who's good at with something can use this platform, and at the same time help them scale faster, do innovation faster, get a very aggressive feedback loop, and while doing all of that, create a network effect also. So network effect is something which is fundamental to technology based business. What does that mean? Is that you are an open system, which means that today, uh, if you join a platform to serve a specific market, let's say like in our case, you join the platform and you know that Welders on the distribution side is ensuring every broker is on the platform to do transactions. So as a manufacturer, you know for the fact that once I'm part of this network, I am part of a network effect where the distribution network is expanding at a rapid pace on the digital network. So network effect also is a very fundamental essence of platformization. And all the examples that you see around, the platforms are categorized either in 2 or multiple ways. One is that there are some which are pure play aggregators who ensure that they aggregate producers on one side and ensure there is a consumer on the other side who are consuming this value that the producer is making. So they are pure play aggregators. And then there are platforms like Welders, which are acting as a platform. So platform can also act as an aggregator and can also be a pure play technology which you can use to scale up, as we've discussed. So point is, platform in its essence have create far more value to the ecosystem just than the pure play aggregator. For example, Swiggy is a pure play aggregator. It is not it is not enhancing some value for the restaurateurs or the consumer, but just aggregating restaurants and making sure you serve the and foodie to, so that they can get the food. But let's say AWS is a platform which is ensuring there's so many Fortune 500 emerging startups across the globe are able to scale up and build a great platform technology and serve the like global community through their infrastructure. So they are a pure play platform. But essentially, if you could ask, are they marketplace of all the tech companies who are using cloud computing? So these lot of this ambiguity comes in when people look at marketplace, aggregators, platforms. But you need to essentially understand the platforms provide you a plug and play infrastructure to scale also. For example, Shopify is a pure play platform versus a Flipkart, which enables a seller to get on their platform as an aggregator and distribute, do e-commerce across the larger value chain. So these terms also becomes important to understand in a technology driven world. So when we understand the concept, the platformization concept, and understand the differences between an aggregator or a marketplace or a platform, you will see now, if you look at examples of Airbnb, are they an aggregator or a platform? So they are more like an aggregator where you have property owners aggregated on one side and the renters on the other side. Shopify is a platform, could be an aggregator tomorrow if Shopify opens up all the listed merchants who are using their platform. So they are essentially first principles platform, second principles could be an aggregator. Kindle is a pure play aggregator because they aggregates publishers and ensures their distribution on the network. So this is how you should look at platforms, and you should look at their nomenclatures, whether they are a pure play platform or they are pure play platform plus an aggregator, or they are pure play marketplace where they are just focusing on enabling producers and enabling distribution on the consumer side. So So this is how we should look at platformization essentially, and why I want to bring this topic, because I have got a lot of feedback from the community when we talk about these words, and it is very important we know the fundamentals, because after that, when you start looking at Zendesk, you will have very relevant questions if you are looking to understand how I could invest a platform like Zendesk in investment management, wealth management space on top of broking. So I thought this would be great to start with. Now essentially, before I get into the our space, which are our core strengths of investment and wealth management on broking, I wanted to talk about the fact that neo banking has gone further mainstream compared to like neo AMC or neo wealth management that we are trying to do on top of broking. So what exactly is neo banking is all about? So as we know that core banks have been unbundled into multiple smaller components, whether you talk about from the CASA deposits going into savings account, from a license to savings deposit to getting into further into asset side, liability side. Now within asset side, trying to basically build more wealth solutions, or on the liability side build better lending solutions. All these are now getting unbundled from a bank point of view. When these things get unbundled, so whether you talk about lending, payments, KYC, data, core systems, and these are unbundled, which means that they are now becoming an open platform in with each component having their own strength. What happens is that because of this openness, we just create an incubation ground to experiment like anything. Like, because today you can take lending inside a consumer app where you are buying your product, or on an e-commerce site. Why this could have happened? Because somebody who is creating the lending book is open up their platform or as an API and made that available to somebody on the other side, on the consumer business, instead of looking everything in silos. So what has happened, the neo banking has unbundled banking in a ways and forms. Today everything has got contextual. So today when you are doing your e-commerce transactions, you have a lender sitting at there. When you're buying your travel ticket, there's an insurance provider trying to do your general insurance on your next travel ticket. So this has happened because these open architecture or open platforms have created a very interconnected environment, where through APIs, or APIs are the interfaces through which two companies talk to each other, like how we talk to each other through a communication medium. Technologies communicate to each other through APIs. So because of that, the fintech incumbents and bunch of consumer companies are coming together and transforming the entire banking ecosystem. So today banks are not look like some monolithic structure. Today banks are like your next consumer app out there. And one of the most important thing, India has done tremendously well to actually achieve such an enormous amount of experiments in fintech, is because we have solved the bigger problem of KYC, or ensuring that the customer is a recognized customer in the financial services ecosystem. Because financial services is not a space where you can give service to anybody and everybody. You need to ensure that the customer is authenticated, KYC, and as per the regulatory guidelines, you know they are following all the right practices as an individual or as an entity. So India as a country has institutionally created a platform infrastructure to do this KYC at scale, and Aadhaar has been the bedrock to achieve this. So because of this Open India Aadhaar stack, today fintech is completely transformed in ways and forms which globally actually we are actually far cutting edge compared to anybody else. And this is how this platform is something which is fundamental to everything that we are doing in fintech today. And if you look at the larger picture now, you will understand where we are in terms of how India would be looked at, especially in the fintech, when these open platforms interconnect with each other and create far more better stories for the end consumers. And if I go very technical into this whole platformization, there are some of the core key artifacts that every one of us should know as an aptitude, as a career professional, that what are some of the things which is creating so much of value within this ecosystem. So this lot of data, because people are interacting with digital systems, so they have access to so much of data, that this data can be contextualized into creating more personalized services from an end customer point of view. And as I been harping about this open architecture, open platforms, so the open systems or the open APIs. So when open APIs, open systems, along with the data which is moving like an electricity on the internet, imagine you are creating interconnected systems, and these interconnected systems, let's assume, can scale to millions and millions of customers without building a large infrastructure. So there's a cloud environment where you can deploy this enormous products which can scale to millions of customers. You see what we're talking about, an AWS era of financial services. And when this AWS AWS era of financial services touches every aspect of financial services. We started from banking, payments, lending, and now we are talking about investment management, wealth management, open broking. We are talking about a different ecosystem that we'll be seeing in coming years. And with that as a vision, if you look at when we started Welldesk, if I could have gone to VC and told, like at the start we were like looking to raise capital or do bootstrap. We've raised our first round recently and we're going to continue that. So what happened is that when we started to look at how investment ecosystem will transform on top of broking in the coming 5-10 years, if in 2015-16, if I would have looked at it, if there's a mutual fund out there where people can invest in equities exposure through a mutual fund, why would you need in another investment vehicle on top of broking? So if somebody would have looked at from outside, it would not make much sense. Why would you try to create a market opportunity when there's so much of market opportunity to distribute mutual funds only at this point? So these are some of the questions which we have looked at as an entrepreneurs when we started building this company in 2015-16, because we knew 2020, 2021, the world will be very different. What has happened with banking, payments, lending, it is going to happen with investment management, wealth management on top of broking, because everything is opening up. So you have an unbundled environment. If there's an unbundled environment, you plug and play, you experiment and create a different environment altogether. And we were very clear that that market is there and we should build for next 10 years. And we have gone through our first 4 or 5 years and we are looking to build the next 5 years. And the platform is something which is fundamental to us. And that is why we've been enjoying this journey for a while, and which we'll be talking about what Welldesk is all about in the next half of this workshop. And just to close the platform as a concept, because as I talked about this fact of unbundling of components, financial services is getting very embedded in nature. So today, when you take a home loan, most likely there's a startup out there working which will ensure that while buying your property, while within your location with a lot of context, they will be giving you a home loan. So home loan underwriting will be very contextual versus you identifying a home and going to a bank. So imagine era of embedded financial services is mainstream. It's mainstream across every sector of how you touch a bank or how you touch a payment system or how you touch a broking. And because everything is opening up as a core offering, so a lot of these consumer companies are realizing this opportunity and they are becoming the banks and the brokers of the future. And if you look at some of the examples globally, for example, Apple, I mean, if you say that Apple is a mobile or a only a mobile or a MacBook or an iPad manufacturer, you would be wrong. They will get into spaces of payments, credit card and things, because contextually they can create an enormous consumer environment where they can provide financial services at a pace, at a personalization level, which a bank or a independent lending company cannot provide. And similarly, Google, as you've seen, they've taken Google Pay and they're expanding further. Facebook acquiring WhatsApp was not just to make sure messaging, but using this as a payment platform to build largest P2P e-commerce platform. Uber has expanded further into financial services. So tomorrow, if you cannot say that this is a consumer company or this is a fintech company. Everybody is a tech company, everybody is a fintech company, because the open architecture, the platform approach has spread the entire ecosystem in ways and forms which we cannot imagine. So if we are looking at platform, we should look at platform at a very, very large context, not just from the context of this is one aspect to distribute some product. No, it is the essence of building new age businesses. So now this is where I stop on the platform capabilities, what platformization is all about. And now comes the most important part where we all are here, is that how would we as a platform enabler are driving the wealth management industry as a platform service. So before I jump into the idea of what we do as a platform, we should look at the basic building blocks of wealth management. And the basic building blocks of wealth management start with very fundamental things. So you have some research, like fundamentally, if I want to launch a product out in the market, an investment product, the fundamental thing starts with my ideation. And let's say if I want to launch some specific portfolio, I have a research strategy in that. I have complete understanding how this research can convert into a product. So from that point, building that product, manufacturing, productizing it to a form where it could be comparable to benchmarks, which is important in our industry. From that point to distributing at scale through wealth management and broking ecosystem, this entire space is now unbundled. And Welldesk as a platform captures every aspect of this unbundled component. So whether you right from ideation research till distributing into the retail account through broking, we as a platform, as a service, we enable this entire value chain. And when we enable this entire value chain, so So you can see we can partner with an open data stack to enable our manufacturers to create better products. We can partner with an open research house to enable our manufacturers to create better products. Once they create these products on our platform, they have a large scale distribution engine where we are integrated with every broker in the country. And this is how we have completely unbundled this entire investment management ecosystem, and has opened it as a service to our practitioners in the industry who are creating portfolios, or who are distributing portfolios, or who are creating investment products or distributing investment products. And why we have chosen Brokin versus, let's say, are taking a mutual fund approach to create portfolios or something else which is out there, because we believe just how payment has transformed this entire e-commerce value chain on the internet. We believe that broking, because broking by design is more like a transactional gateway for stocks, ETFs, and all the brokers are opening up and want to partner with a platform like Weldus, because they believe that gone are the days where you can make money on the transactional front. It is today the end customer want value in their demat account. They want wealth creation opportunities in their demat account. If we talk about an India which can create 100 million demat accounts, are these 100 million demat accounts want a transactional platform? Not likely. They would want a platform where they can create wealth, just like they would have done with mutual funds or gold or some other traditional asset classes. Similarly, on broking, they want to create these wealth. And we identified that the unbundling of investment management ecosystem, the beauty of this could be looked at from as an outsider, especially as a practitioner, is that if we can create a parallel product portfolio ecosystem on top of direct stocks and ETFs, where you can actually create this bunch of package your direct stocks and ETFs into a portfolios, which we call as wealth basket, enable very sophisticated manufacturing and productization engine, and then distribute at scale through brokers where our consumer platforms are running. So access to almost like 80-90% demat account in the country. We are pursuing to get access to 100% demat account in the country, so that tomorrow when you are a practitioner, you want to get into fund management, you don't need to look at a large AMC kind of vehicle. You, through an RIA model or an RA model, you create your portfolios and distribute at scales on top of broking. The platform provides you everything. Your core strength will still be your research, your capability to create better portfolios, and maybe if you're a distributor, your core strength will be that you can create you can use the platform like Weldus to actually distribute at scale and move from transactional led distribution model to a more wealth led distribution model, and capture a larger India opportunity versus a very finite India opportunity. So this is what we encapsulate together as a platform. Now, if we unbundle the components of investment management into data, research, manufacturing, productization, distribution, and then execution on top of broking, and let's say we take the practitioner's approach that I have niche skill sets in specific areas within this value chain. If this connects to your personas or as a practitioner, then you know for the fact that Weldus will be a real value add for you as a platform versus what you could do independently, where you need to do a lot of heavy lifting to get into retail markets. So today, right now, we as a platform, we serve the space of advisory. So our most on the manufacturing side, our biggest enablers are some of the most incredible investment advisory firms, research arms of big brokers. They are creating these portfolios on direct stocks and ETF, which we call it as wealth baskets. And on the consumer, we are driving some of the most like new age stories around providing value-based broking. So today, brokers are moving from direct stocks and ETF based transactions to more portfolio based transactions, and these portfolios, because they are managed in nature, they create sustainable wealth for the retail customer. And from a market opportunity point of view, Weldus actually has been, we took a very different approach versus somebody else, is that we identified that even the existing demat accounts are struggling in terms of creating wealth on top when it comes to broking, because stock investing and a mutual fund or a PMS investing are look very differently. Because the moment you come on broking, your adrenaline takes over, your behavioral bias takes over, so you start doing individual stocks, very concentrated portfolios, end up having a lot of losers but not having a lot of winners. And this is a lot to do because you try to do a lot of things which is detrimental to your wealth creation. The moment you bring portfolios on top of broking, you are still empowered to identify those right portfolios, but being managed in nature by some of the most incredible advisors and research analysts, you are able to create sustainable wealth. So what we have seen as a platform is that we have been able to create significant impact on the most old demat accounts in the country, not just the new demat account, but even the existing demat account who's there for years, who have done serious investments in mutual fund PMS, they are getting into Wealth Basket. Because why? Because one, they are able to create more personalized portfolios and get into themes and strategies which they could not imagine in their lives, because there's no other fund structure to do that. Secondly, they are more empowered because the underlying stocks ETFs stays in their demat account, so more they have complete control on that. They have access to what is happening on the portfolio, and managers are continuously updating the portfolio based on their investment strategy. They just need to do one touch approval. So we are seeing the existing demat accounts in the country with some of the largest full service brokers. Their customers are adapting to Wealth Baskets at a pace which we never imagined, because our focus was to enable Wealth Baskets as an investment vehicle for the new investors also. Because the as the country creates more broking accounts, we need to make sure that they have far more organized wealth creation opportunities on top of broking. So that was our bigger focus. But what we have realized as a platform, when we went out in 2018-19, some of the most sophisticated broking customers are on our platform, and they have an enormous wallet share on through our Wealth Baskets. And new age investors are definitely using Wealth Basket, because this is the best way to get into markets and create your own first stock portfolio or an ETF portfolio. And we have been able to capture the entire demographics in the right way as a platform. And if you ask what we are today essentially as a platform, so we are a multi-sided platform. So on the one side, we are enabling manufacturers like SEBI registered investment advisory firms, research analysts or broking firms, or independent advisory and research analyst firms. They are coming on our Wealth business platform. They are creating Wealth Baskets. And on the consumer side, we are integrated with every broker in the country, and ensure that from a manufacturer or from an advisor point of view, we have a large scale distribution network, so that these portfolios can be discovered by retail investors across the demographic, right from a 2,000 rupees kind of a wallet investor to a 2 crore, 5 crore kind of a wallet investors. We are serving the entire value chain on the distribution side. And specifically, if you look at the discount broking, which has gone mainstream because they have sort of commoditized broking as a account. Like today, if you see, most of the new age participants are opening a broking account in a completely nameless, faceless basis through online broking platforms. So what has enabled them to create so many broking accounts? So first is that the onboarding is so seamless because of the tech first approach to broking. They have created a better UX, better onboarding environment. And because India is a very price sensitive market for mostly new age customers, is that because of zero brokerage and the low brokerage fee, they are ready to get a broking account and start experimenting with direct stock investing. And this has created a huge market opportunity to have an access to a large retail community in India, not just a very mass affluent retail community which is opens a broking account with a very serious objective to create wealth, but there's a larger India trend happening where so many broking accounts are being created in India, created in the country, and technology first brokers are actually driving that at scale. But what they have done very well is that they commoditize the transactional layer very well by opening the broking account. So when they partner with Wealth, what they are looking to achieve is to commoditize wealth creation for these retail customers who are opening broking account at scale. And Wealth Basket essentially is positioned to achieve that for the retail community. So where the larger focus is to ensure premium investment solutions in the form of direct stocks and ETF portfolios are available to retail investors at an affordable cost. And why affordable? Because it's a technology-led play, right from manufacturing to the distribution. So you can reduce cost because you are focusing on larger market access. So as a manufacturers also, you tend to reduce your cost and tend to get into a larger retail market, because you see today I should not focus only on 50 lakh and a 1 crore kind of ticket size client. I need to get into a larger retail community, because platform like Wealth is creating a larger access to retail community. And these retail customers today are getting some of the most premium portfolios on broking, which they could not have imagined, and as an organized investment vehicle. And then they are able to create sustainable wealth. And this trend we are building up. And what we are saying is that we are sort of in putting the wealth button or the investment button on the internet on top of broking. And this investment button and wealth button is powered through our Wealth platform, where manufacturers are able to create these solutions at scale and open it to a larger broking community. And because of that multi-sided platform play, today we have been able to uh, serve every kind of use case on the manufacturing layer, whether you're trying to build the MSCI of India by bringing smart beta or indexing portfolios or passive portfolios, or you are trying a very traditional research analyst firm trying to who was creating enormous wealth in silos, are now able to convert their research into portfolios, or a premium PMS provider who was focusing on 50 lakh plus market want to get into retail. So we have been able to serve all the use cases on the manufacturing side, and even the AMCs are coming to us because they believe that the larger ETF participation is happening not is on top of broking only, and ETF first time ETF investments are happening largely today. We are seeing that through wealth baskets, people are getting into far systematic ETF based portfolios. So from a manufacturing point of view, we serve all the use cases from brokerage research to PMS to investment advisory firms to research analyst firms to AMCs. They are coming aggregated on our Wealth business platform. And on the distribution side, we, as I told, we are not just focusing on DIY only customers. We are focusing on the full service broking community, payments app, pure play distributors. We are serving even independent content providers like news channels, Flip It News, kind of new age news distributors or market news. They are also, the customers are able to get embedded wealth solution because our open architecture or the open broking access of through wealth baskets are available inside their consumer apps. And so from the distribution point of view, we are able to capture every distribution property that is out there on the internet and able to create a large ecosystem as an enabler. And I think some of the questions are looking around where are we just focusing on only DIY or digital only customers who can discover these wealth baskets and invest through all the distributor properties that are out there on the internet through our platform? No, we not only serve the DIY, but we also have very, very sophisticated technology which helps enable assisted investments also through distributors, franchisees, RM, bank channels, branch partners of a banking house or a broking house. We have on the distribution side, we have both offline to online distribution capabilities through assisted models on these wealth baskets where you can talk to your distributor or an advisor and get into these portfolios. Or if you are a DIY customer on a technology first broking platform where Wealthdesk is running, you can discover these portfolios and get into these portfolios on your own. This is your investment objectives. So on the distribution side, we serve all the use cases. And if you look at how this whole internet connected system is being running right now, so this is how the entire value chain is moving as we speak. Like as a platform enabler, we are creating value on the world side and on distributing value on the other side to the distributors and giving access to the retail consumer. So this is the internet network that we have been able to create as a multi-sided platform, and not only push the better products that are being created on top of broking and create a better investment product ecosystem on broking. On the distributor side, bringing these portfolios in an embedded model through brokers, to distributors, through more embedded payment systems, news apps and all. We are trying to expand the market further so that tomorrow possibly if somebody is investing in equities, he most likely will not only will just look at mutual funds and PMS anyways is for a very concentrated market, not only look at mutual funds, but they will also have access to these direct ETFs, stocks and ETF based indexing portfolios, premium discretionary long-term portfolios, and they can create a better investment asset allocation within their direct equities exposure. So this is how we've been able to achieve that. And as a target market, so on one side, as I told, we have our Wealth business platform where manufacturers and distributors are coming, where manufacturers create portfolios, distributors curate which portfolios they want to sell. And on the retail investors, from a consumer point of view, we have a demographic access from a 2,000 rupees or a 1,000 rupees customer to an ultra HNI customer with 1 crore, 2 crore. So from a market access point of view, we are actually serving the lowest of the funnel to the highest of the funnel in terms of the pyramid access. We have demographic access to the premium to the last mile retail investors who have just started investing. We serve the entire community. And as an ecosystem, the properties that we create is that, so one is that Wealth business where we onboard an advisor or a research house or a distributor, where we enable them to create and manage these portfolios. And these portfolios could be active, passive, fundamental, indexing, technical. So in terms of portfolios, we are not just indexing portfolios, we also provide capabilities to create very actively managed portfolios, because we believe there's a large active alpha out there in market, and we provide a lot of complex rebalancing technology to manage very actively managed portfolios. So you can create indexing portfolios or a smart beta or a passive portfolio to a very actively managed portfolio on our platform. And on the distribution side, we have our consumer running on the broker app, independent Shopify kind of consumer microsite for the advisor, and independent distributor microsites. And we are also going to go further, expand our marketplace model to our consumer, where we have not done that till now because we are a pure play B2B2C till now, but we are looking to further expand our consumer market access through our marketplace model model, which is going to happen as we speak. And that's how we have been able to create such a manufacturing to a distribution ecosystem. And from a customer point of view, as I told you, we have served the new to market customers, inactive dormant account, and even seasoned investors also. So from a market access point of view, we've been serving the entire retail community, both in terms of wallet share as well as in terms of their personas. And this is how the whole pipeline looks like, because we talked about the unbundling of investment value chain. This unbundling, if you look at how now you can picturize what platform as a service is doing. So on one side, through Welders business, we have some of the top manufacturers who are creating wealth baskets on active, passive, discretionary, fundamental, technical. So tomorrow, if you want to build the MSCI of India or the Vanguard of India or the create some of the most AI enabled or modern portfolio emerging fund management strategy you want to build, or you are a traditional fund manager who's doing great top-down research, but only focusing on a very small market, but premium, credible history of managing portfolios at scale. All sorts of manufacturers are there on one side, and on the distribution side, every kind of distributor is there on our platform, so that eventually we serve the retail community from a very small ticket size retail investor to an HNI. So this is how our platform as a service has evolved. So from a B2B point of view, our platform is being deployed by all the brokers. From a manufacturer point of view, so the incredible investment advisors, PMS firms getting into retail, research analysts, emerging fund managers like building the MSCI of India, where you don't need an ETF, but you have an indexing wealth baskets. So we serve the entire value chain as an enabler. And this is where I actually stop in terms of what our platform provides. Now, one of the things I will tell you from experience, that when we onboard an advisor or when we onboard a fund manager who have been doing great stuff within their own capacities, capturing a specific market, but now through Welders, they are actually become the digital AMCs by onboarding their portfolios and distributing at scale to a larger internet-focused distribution through broking. What we have realized that as a practitioner, a lot of times we have to go through a lot of these nomenclatures with these fund managers or brokers also. How do you actually adopt platform? In the sense, just onboarding platform into your ecosystem as a broker, onboarding platform as an advisor or as a retail investor, when people look at your products, some of the most key aspects that fund management or investment management or wealth management industry needs to look at when as a practitioner, when we actually embracing platform and for the larger scale in the coming time. Some of the things which I wanted to bring out is that because it's a very fund management, investment management is a very traditional industry, years of experience are looked at as a credible high trust mark to serve the retail investor. But when you actually tend to take your credible investment research or fund management capability to larger community, or when you are a broker who were actually making money on the transactional front, where you were not adding value to the customer account, but you were just using the transactional pipe to make money, but now you want to create value in the customer account, and the customer is mostly DIY in nature. Some of the nomenclatures we need to look at is that the old school approach of investment management was around capital and manpower, where you have access to network, you have credibility, you have capital, you have manpower, and you can create a large distribution engine. Today, it is all about data and API. From a customer point of view, the mass market kind of product, which is mutual fund, has been doing great in that will not make the cut in coming time. And that is why nuanced wealth baskets are important. So personalization becomes important when you're serving the end customer, because if an end customer wants a thematic theme around MNC portfolios, you can't go to a mutual fund. You have to have a wealth basket in your kitty or in your catalog, so that you can serve the retail customer. So personalization becomes very important. Careers also have changed. Like today, I get so many profiles from our industry folks who've done great in their lives, who've been RMs. They're saying that I want to become a product manager. So that shift is happening, where RM based model is becoming a product manager, because 90% of your interactions are happening through digital first products, where product is your main main actually interaction touch point from an end customer point of view. So your entire relationship needs to culminate that onto a product or your UX. So career roles are being shifting from relationship manager based roles to a product manager based roles. And from a soft skill set point of view, previously communications and networking skills were used to create a larger career impact as a career investment management professional. Today, beyond the soft skills, you need to build an aptitude to embrace technology, open platforms, product based approach, and how you can embrace like a platform like a Welders to achieve a larger market opportunity. So that aptitude needs to be built up. So this is where I stop, where I think this this actually will give you a sense of where we started, like what platformization is all about, how it impacted banking, how it is unbundled our space, where Welldesk fits in. And if Welldesk is your future to embrace as an investor also, as a practitioner also, there's a enormous opportunity out there for all of us. So yeah, this is where I stop. I'll wait for questions.
I mean, for me, it was really. Well, one of my first questions that I have is, like you mentioned right at the start, platformization. I'm sorry, is there some disturbance? Hi, I think the disturbance gone now. Sorry about that. Ujjwal, like I was asking, you mentioned earlier in your presentation that, platformization was inevitable because of the ecosystem that exists, whether in terms of, the open architecture, the Aadhaar and UPI, the way system has evolved. However, can you maybe, share with us some challenges that you faced while, you were doing from the technology perspective? Or what do you think is still missing in this piece to take, wealth tech maybe to the next level?
So yeah, I mean, that is something which I started also. So Welldesk, when we started building in 2016 onward. Now, if you look at the regulatory touch points that we touch as a platform, so on one side we have the manufacturers, investment advisory firms, research analysts, where they are in fiduciary nature and they are regulated by some guidelines. And on the broking side, there are brokers who are again SEBI regulated. So we always had this overhang that how the regulations will evolve in the long run when you try to create a direct indexing portfolios in form of wealth baskets are available to retail on broking, how the regulators will look at it and how regulators will evolve. But the good thing is that because we have looked at the global trends over the years, like over 10 15 years working with like MSCIs and the D-Shaws of the world, we have always seen that the regulators eventually started across the world started moving from a distribution-led model to more advisory-led model or a fee-based model. So 2013 SEBI RIA regulatory framework came in. It was a first draft, and today, if you look at in 2021, that draft has been very comprehensive in nature. So regulations has been more clear, more transparent. So as a platform, some of the challenges which we were betting on in the sense as the regulation will become more clearer to enable these direct equities ETF based portfolios to retail customers on broking, and how we will be using these licenses from a practitioner point of view, the manufacturers who are on our platform. So from a regulation standpoint, these things have cleared over the years. So the bet we took, which was sort of challenging at some point, but eventually played out well because we were always focusing on the larger ecosystem play.
Right. The next question, Ujjwal, I wanted to check with you was, I think Vasant mentioned this earlier that, the next generation, the way they are looking at investing and wealth creation is very different from the traditional mindset. They would rather, do it themselves, and they're, very comfortable using technology. However, while there may be a basket that, you can choose from, like you mentioned, you connect with retail investors directly as well. What can we do, or what can we add, to the platform to make advice, the advice element, a part of that their decision making? Because we have to agree that the financial literacy levels are still pretty low, right? And there is still a tendency to buy what is in trend, or what is the current theme, or without really understanding the risk aspects of it. So what can we do in terms of the way the products look, a better understanding of the product on the platform?
So it's a great question, Shagun. So actually we have seen that we have solved like first part of the problem only, where as a platform, when we have got these advisory or a managed portfolios on top of broking. So the first point that you raised, that people who tend to do DIY, and it is not just like the modern day like retail customers like us who are completely digital natives, but even the older days, the ability to actually make decision to invest in a direct stock basis your information access to have, you might start right, but you cannot ensure that this will be sorry, your investment decision is right in the long run. So advice become a very critical component, so that though you are empowered, that you are making your choices whether you want to invest in this advisory portfolio or that advisory portfolio. So that part of the problem we have solved. Let's say if you want to invest in a momentum theme, you have a very managed advisory portfolio versus you trying to find those momentum stocks that are in trend, as you rightly said. So that way we have ensured that that advisory layer is added, and the diversification in the portfolio, instead of bunch of stocks, you are investing in a tens of stocks in a diversified manner and trying to outperform markets. So you are empowered to create wealth, though you are still investing in that momentum theme, but you are not doing the direct stock selection. The next level, the next part of the advisory layer that we are focusing on as a platform is on the vertical side. We are launching tools which aids advisory to the next level, which means that I come with a set of with a background where I am in my life. I might have my own investments done already in direct stocks, mutual funds, bunch of messy investments across like several years, or maybe first time investors. So we are launching a lot of assisted technology on top of our platform, like right from portfolio optimization tools to asset allocation tools, which you could have never imagined somebody could open on a broking platform at such a scale. Because of our platform play, we are able to bring some of these technology on the advisory layer on top of these portfolios, so that we can further aid the retail investors' journey in their lives. So we are working on all of these.
So there's a question from Jitendra, who wants, if you could describe for us, some of the use cases that of your platform from some large wealth firms catering to, the ultra net worth, the high net worth individuals, and what is the value add for these firms and their clients compared to the traditional way of, manufacturing in-house products or onboarding such clients.
So if we talk about the ultra HNI segment, what we have seen is that, like first of all, like most majority would have been like given a PMS kind of portfolio or a bunch of mutual funds in a bouquet, purely from an advisory layers, because you want to tend to take a fee out of these customers. So what has happened that because of this direct stock and ETF based wealth baskets in their catalog, in their bouquet, so this wealth management firms are able to create a far more nuanced asset allocation for these ultra HNI customers. And also, let's say they couldn't get a less than a 50 lakh kind of ticket size customer, they are gradually furthering deepening down, because if you see the ultra HNI segment, it has mostly siloed or plateaued in terms of the market opportunity for wealth firms. So what has happened is a lot of these even ultra HNIs are trying to do a lot of things on their own. I mean, I can't talk about cases, but we have seen a lot of ultra HNIs from wealth firms. They have started trying to do a lot of things DIY and eventually rise, because they find that I have access to far more better investment product ecosystem versus a wealth firm which is only selling these traditional products. So wealth baskets actually enable these wealth firms to actually capture this emerging trend and serve a larger mass affluent community, and they are providing them better investment solutions with more wealth baskets and better like evolved asset allocation strategy, and that is serving the ultra HNI in a very comprehensive way versus what it used to be in the past.
So the next question is from Vijay, and this is something which I'm also very curious about. That what is your business model, and I mean, how do you make money, and what is the cost to the clients for the baskets created by the RIAs and PMS guys? What is the cost eventually added to the net, the end consumer, the end investor?
Yeah, so typically, so these portfolios, I mean, if you look at how regulations have evolved, so previously what used to happen before 2020 also, there were a lot of these portfolios were made available by brokers without any cost. So the implicit cost for transactions. Now that is not the typical use case as a platform when we went out, because our focus was to take money on the advisory layer, not on the transaction layer. So today, as we speak, because the regulations are very clean on advisory and distribution, what has happened is that these portfolios have a fee component where customer has to pay to the advisor. And because we enable this entire portfolio creation to discovery to execution to the client account, entire regulatory as a service, all that is powered by the platform. So we take a share of that as a platform from the advisor on the fee that they collect from the end customer. And on the transactional layer, as most of the brokers are gradually moving into broking, discount broking or a zero broking or minimal brokerage, there's still from a customer point of view, there's still a transaction cost involved if you are a broking customer of a broker which charges brokerage. So you incur that cost also. As a platform, because we serve the broking houses also with our distribution platform, so we take a share of that also on the transaction side, if there's any.
Okay, got it. Aditya wants to know, does Wealth Desk also have an in-house advisory among the listed with others? And does this have any compliance issue, and how is it different than small case?
Yeah, so good question. So from an advisory point of view, we are a pure play platform enabler. There's some of the advisors who are strategically working with us. So you can say that they are only working with Wealth, where the focus is actually to, especially in passive or smart beta or factor based universe, where India is seeing that enormous access to indexing based portfolios around factors, quant, and passive portfolios. So there are some of the strategic RIAs who only work with Wealth, and they are completely do their retail distribution through Wealth. But as a pure play platform, most they are premium advisors who are across other partners also. They are also on our platform, and in terms of access to advisors, we tend to have some sort of, when it comes to broking, we have tend to some sort of a layer where we screen right now which advisors we want on our platform from a credibility back history of managing large AUMs. As of now, we are curating that part, but as we speak, because of the platform, we are getting so much of traction in terms of accessing the platform to serve their own target markets and all. We are, as a SaaS platform, we are gradually opening up to some basis the screening criteria as a platform we have. And a question around small case. So good question. Actually, it's a question which I think both small case and us gets every single day. So I think as a platform, conceptually we are same, and even the access market is same, and they are trying to focus on. They largely started from consumer and went into B2B2C. We started B2B2C first. So because inherently we are a B2B2C first company, our platform embraces the India and the Bharat demographics further well. So we have access to that is some of the most full service brokers and discount brokers. They see that we deem really fit as a B2B2C SaaS when it comes to portfolio based investing. So we have done that well, and we continue to do that well. But yeah, conceptually we are same. I mean, we are in the space of wealth. So from a retail customer point of view, at the end of the day, what you will care is your returns. So you will try to see how you fare across platforms with different advisors. So I think the end goal is obviously to create wealth at the retail level, and as a platform, if we can push that metric further into India, I think that is what we are focusing on. We'll continue to focus on.
So ideally, you could have RIAs that are offering the same product on both your platforms.
We have RIAs who are serving on both small case and Wealth Desk.
Right. Okay. So Raj, has a good follow-up question to this. How do you see do you see yours and small case as the beginning of Uberization of investments? And if so, how many players can coexist? And what stops you from going global?
So there are three questions here. So I think small case and Wealth Desk has able to create that ecosystem. So because the platform play at such a massive scale, I think first of all, it's a years of effort you need to build it's a very deep tech problem, because you are enabling manufacturing till the last mile distribution and ensuring their experience in their entire investment life cycle. So if I would say that it's a mix of AMC plus distribution stack, like as a technology. So I think we don't see many players could get into this very easily. So I think I think bunch of players could obviously coexist. India has a very, very plural market from a target market access. So more like if there are some more players, I mean, it actually aids the community ecosystem versus try to compete with each other. So I think it's a great space to be in for a couple of players out there. And the next question is, like, nobody stops us to go global. Actually, globally, we have taken a far deeper approach to actually take look at global landscape, because globally, if you look at indexing portfolios in broking, there's largely done by a broker who try to capture assets from and capture some startups or technology firms to do indexing in the client account through broking, versus our, which is a very neutral platform on both sides. So we enable manufacturers neutrally, we enable distributors neutrally. So that open architecture is actually something which India we as a entrepreneurs in India have done very well versus, let's say, even global counterparts.
I think we're running out of time. Maybe we can take one more question before we go into the breakout room. Abhishek would like to know that how are you positioning Wealth Baskets as a tool to invest in equities or as an investment vehicle in itself to create wealth?
So the first problem is obviously to make sure that when it comes to direct stocks and ETF, if India has to really make capital markets go mainstream from a wealth creation for an end retail customers with very nominal savings, because people who have sustainable lot of savings, they obviously have exposure to multiple asset classes, including direct stock. But let's say if we want to make sure that somebody with a very small amount of savings is getting into direct equities, we want to make sure that we position Wealth Baskets so that they create sustainable wealth, because capital markets should not be looked at a market where you want to make short-term money or quick gains and all, because that has how been the trend largely in India, which we are able to completely like disrupt in the right way, where this organized investment vehicle in the form of portfolio, which you can replicate in a demat account, is working really well. So that's one thing. Now, as this becomes mainstream more on the broking platforms, what happens is that it is, as an investment vehicle, obviously it will be looked out, because you are trying to push the product innovation also, because you are now, you don't need an ETF to create an indexing portfolio. You can have a Wealth Baskets tracking some smart beta factors or an ESG metric or any theme idea. You can just simply go basis your strategy, launch a portfolio through our Wealth business platform, and immediately you have a distribution network. So as a vehicle, it's on its own becoming anyways. The industry will actually make it the vehicle. So that is how we are looking at it. And as we further get more asset classes to create more sophisticated Wealth Baskets by bringing a multi-asset setup, then it will further depend on the reach of this vehicle to a larger India.
Great. Thanks so much, Ujjwal. I would just like to remind the participants that the PPT links for the presentations today have been shared on the chat box. We would now like to, go into breakout rooms where you could have, one-on-one session with our speakers, both Vasant and Ujjwal. Please do join in for that. If you have, any questions that we were not able to take up during this time, you can ask them over there. Vasant and Saloni, Ujjwal, please, I request you all to all join the breakout rooms.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Shagul.
Thanks, Ujjwal.